Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I've had a lot of people ask me about this in the last week. I've just now got a chance to check into it. And people are asking me, what do I think about Ryan Casey doing SARMs? Do I think he's natural? What are my thoughts on it? So let me go ahead and put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill on my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, for those who don't know what SARMs are selective androgen receptor modulators. They generally fall under the area of research chemicals right now. They have kind of an ambiguous regulation as far as legalities go. It's been shifting back and forth in the US. Some countries are perfectly legal. They're of a questionable legal status right now in the United States. So what I would tell you, if you live in the United States, I'm going to recommend that you stay away from them just because of that. Because it's not like you can go legally get a prescription. It's different with anabolics and testosterone. There are legal routes that you have available to you through a medical doctor to get those things. Even if technically your goals are aesthetic or performance related, there's still ways that doctors can legally do this for you, and it can be done, and it's done all the time. Whereas in SARMs, kind of still that research chemical area, they do fall into a very gray area, and I know the laws have changed again, and I have not kept up with what changed recently with the laws. So what we have here is a case of Ryan Casey doing this as a teenager, and my thoughts on that immediately. I'm not anti-gear. I'm not against any of this stuff. I hold a neutral stance. I think people should make educated choices on these things of what to do with their own body. However, I have always held the stance that teenagers should absolutely not mess with their endocrine system at all. And people can say what they want. They can say, well, SARMs, technically they don't have all the negatives of anabolics. Well, yeah, you can say that. Some of those negatives are reduced. But let's be realistic here. At best, that's because people are taking very, very low doses. In other words, it's nothing for most people to take 50 milligrams of any given oral anabolic, but they don't take 50 milligrams of SARMs. It's like 10, 20, things like that. Well, you wouldn't expect pronounced side effects. So things like HTPA suppression and stuff, they do seem to happen a little bit with them. And if you were to run them at the sort of doses that you do see with the real stuff, the serious stuff, the side effects can start to mount up, including suppression of your natural testosterone production and things like that. And here's my concern with that. When you have people who are teenagers, your body is not done developing yet. Your body is absolutely not done developing yet. When you start tampering with your endocrine system before you're done developing, and men do not fully physically mature until we are age 21, I think it's taking one hell of a risk. And I think it's taking a hell of a risk with your future, possibly your ability to produce testosterone, possibly your ability to reproduce. Those things are being jeopardized as a teenager because you want another 10 pounds of muscle, because you want another 40 or 50 pounds on your bench press. And I can tell you right now, at 16, 17, even 18 years old, I'm going to say 18 years old, even if you're an adult legally, you are not emotionally mature enough to make decisions like that are going to affect you potentially for the rest of your life. You're really not. I'm going to say even at 18, I'm going to say at 19. You are not emotionally mature enough to make those decisions, and you could end up with a lot of very serious regrets because of that. And over what? Another 10 pounds of muscle, another inch on your biceps, another inch on your pecs. You're jeopardizing something that could affect your health and, your male health, your virility. They could affect these things for the rest of your life. And that's not a choice that should be made lightly. And I don't think it's a choice that teenagers have the capacity to fully make. And I'm saying that as nice as possible, as sitting here as a 41-year-old man who is themselves on TRT, I can tell you that that is not a choice that you are really emotionally and mature enough to make at that age. You're just not, guys. And I know you might feel that you are, but trust me on this, you're not. You're not. But I tell people, what I would like to see before anyone even considers into this stuff, before it even becomes something that they're thinking about. Minimum of 3 years of hard training. You should be able to squat 400, deadlift 500, bench 300. Those are bare minimums, and at least 3 years of training, and be at least 21 years old. in my opinion, before you even look into this. I'm not saying that before you make the decision. I'm saying before you even consider it as an option on the table that you start researching. Because that's how it goes. People can say, well, I'm just going to do research. All right, let's be honest here. 90% of people who start researching this stuff start within 3 to 6 months, if not sooner. Most people, when they start researching, are doing their first bit of gear 6 weeks later, right? As soon as they start their research. So that's how it is. Because once someone has started researching it and looking into it, and they're trying to decide if they're going to do this stuff, they've made up their mind that they probably are going to. So I don't even think it should be an option on the table that someone should be researching before that point, and that's my opinion. You know, it's just my opinion, like everyone else's. It's mine. It's unique. It's not right or wrong. That's just what I believe. I don't think it should be an option on the table. So as far as Ryan Casey doing it, a lot of people have talked about it apparently, and I haven't seen what everyone else has had to say about it, but let's talk about natural or not. No, he's not natural. No, he's not natural. He's messed with his androgen receptors. He's put a substance in his body that's got his bench close to 400 pounds. The guy already was pretty strong. From what I understand, this kid had actually built a pretty solid base already. So, I mean, I'm going to give respect where respect is due. I don't know a lot about him, but I do know that he was, even a year ago, the guy was pretty decently strong. He built a base. This is not someone who is afraid of putting in work. This is not someone who is being lazy. This is someone who has really and truly put in the work, and at that young to have the base that he has built is pretty impressive. That's actually abnormal. That's not the norm. So, I mean, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This kid has obviously got pretty good genetics for lifting and everything else, and has obviously put in some serious time under a heavy barbell, even through his teenage years while in high school. And so I'm going to give respect for that, because I wish we'd see a lot more of that. I wish we'd see more 16-year-olds getting under a heavy squat bar several days a week, you know, doing some heavy deadlifts. I like that. I like that. I think we need to see a hell of a lot more of that. And so I'm glad, because maybe he could be an inspiration in that regard. But as far as jumping into the SARMs go, you know, I think he cashed in his natty card too soon. Now, he's saying, from what I understand, he won't ever use them again. But the point is, here's how this stuff works. So particularly doing this at such a young age, here's what I tell guys. Once you start, you're not natty. There is no such thing as current natty. It's a lifetime deal, because we know that some of these substances can cause long-term changes. In other words, the studies that have looked at it have found that people who use them for a significant amount of time, they do make permanent changes, and it can be detected with muscle biopsies. They can actually tell if you've been using gear in the past, like from a muscle biopsy of your traps and things. It's actually been found in studies. So it causes permanent changes. It can change your set points. It can change your muscle nuclei density. It can change things permanently. So once you cash in that natty card, you're not natty. You can say, well, I'm not lifetime natty, but I'm natty right now. You're not natty, guys. And so he has essentially kind of cashed that in. And I think he said he suffered some bad side effects, some issues with his vision and other stuff. I'm not sure what he used. I think S4 is one of them that can cause issues with that. Again, I'm not entirely sure with all the SARMs that are out there, because I don't really keep up with them. But you know, he's already suffered some negative effects. He's suffered some negative effects already. He's saying he's not going to go back on, and here's what I would hope with a lot of that. I would hope that other teenagers who maybe see this guy and they're looking up to him, they're not looking at it and saying, okay, well, he hasn't suffered too bad for it. He got some results out of it. Maybe I should consider it. I would say no. I hope that they listen to him when he says he's not going to do it again. That he suffered some negative side effects he wasn't happy with. He probably knows he cashed in his natty card too soon. I am really and truly hoping that a lot of the younger men, that they see him, they look up to him, they maybe want to emulate him, that they don't do that. Listen to what he says when he's like, look, I am not going to do this again. I don't plan on doing it again. I probably shouldn't have. Take that under advisement. That's what I would say to these young men. Take that under advisement and look at the fact of, look at what he did leading into it. Say, okay, where did he get to? Like, how did he get to the place that he is in where he got to that point? The guy put in some serious time under a heavy barbell. Like, if you want to emulate him, if you want to imitate him, then go do what he was doing in the training. Go lift some heavy ass weight. Build your base, build your foundation. Get strong, right? Get strong. Right, put in your dues and then listen when he says, hey, you know, I probably shouldn't have done this. I'm not glad that I did it. I did suffer some negative effects I'm not happy with. Listen to that part too. And don't say, well, he seems to be okay after he did it, so if I do it, I'll be okay. Because you don't know that. When you start tampering with your endocrine system at a young age like that, you can have consequences that just because one person is okay doesn't mean that you're going to be okay. And you're taking a hell of a gamble. And I really and truly feel that a teenager is not mature enough to do that. Just, guys, get in. If you're a younger guy, get in, lift heavy, eat lots of quality food, build your base. Build your base. Worry about all that other stuff down the road when you're in a place in your life where you're mature enough to make that decision, where you're financially secure enough to make that decision, you're secure enough in who you are as a person to make that decision. Because I can tell you right now, at 17, 18, 19 years old, you don't know who you are. You're still figuring out who you are. Hell, I'm at 41 years old. In certain ways, I'm still trying to figure out who I am. I have a pretty good idea, but at that age, you really don't. You don't know where you're going in life, and I don't think you should make those sort of decisions. Just get in and train hard, build your base, eat a lot of quality food, and worry about the other stuff later. Get yourself as far as you can get, just building your base. And if you really put in the work, you might be surprised where you end up. You might be surprised where you end up just on your own. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.